Oh my gosh, you're here.
Welcome to My Chatbot Life, where chatbot marketers share high converting strategies in this new conversational marketplace. Each week, MKJ introduces you to bot builders who are just like you, a little techie, a little markety, and a whole lot of geeky. Buckle up as Chatbot Mom enjoys another journey into My Chatbot Life.
Hey, bot buddies. Guess who? MKJ is here, and I get to introduce you to a really fun lady. You'll see why I use the word fun in a minute. But Wendy Breakstone is the founder of Audio Summit Marketing School. And she's also a marketing operations expert. So she's my kind of gal, right? She's our people. She's our people. Wendy, hello, welcome.
Hi. Well, you can see in my background, I'm going to tilt my computer up a little bit, that I have a Wonder Woman poster behind me, which gives me inspiration and fills me with power every day. So I feel like we're going to have a very powerful conversation.
Oh yeah. All you got to do is make that stance and it just changes it just changes everything. So, all right, let's just kind of start this conversation with getting to know you a little bit. We've been kind of in each other's world here and there, and we've talked about bots just on the outskirts of things. But so what you're doing right now is audio summits, which we've got to tell people why it's specifically audio, because most people go to video. But anyway, before we get to that, what were you doing for a job right before you started what you're doing now?
So basically every path that I always end up on leads me back to what I would call marketing operations and project management, thinking about those foundational, fundamental systems and processes that you need to have in place to run your business, create a summit, do any type of marketing and any type of sales. So I started my business and I started my entrepreneurial adventure a really long time ago. I say it was 18 plus years ago because my first entrepreneurial adventure was in 1996. So a little public math will tell you is a little bit longer than 18 years ago, but that's the number I've chosen. And back then I was really in a lot of anxiety, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we have this conversation. But what I quickly realized is as I started my entrepreneurial journey, it was out of necessity at the time because I was at home and I needed to make some money. And so I started a little business. And as I created this business and I put systems in place for my business, I'm talking about little systems, not like big, elaborate anything, because back then the internet wasn't like a thing, right?
Yeah, we didn't have it.
Yeah. And so what I realized is little systems started to make me feel better with my anxiety, started to help my clients get a better handle on their business. And over the years, I've always been in some form of or another, strategic marketing and systems, project management. So right before I started Audio Summit Marketing School and started helping people kind of step outside the box of what I call traditional summits, I was doing marketing operations at the director and C-level for other entrepreneurs that were building their programs and their businesses. So I've often played the behind the scenes role to the front man, the front woman. And I've recently, just in the past few years, and then really felt really called towards it even more this year, felt like I needed to serve more people in a bigger way. So.
And step in front of it and be the front woman now.
Yeah, and whatever that means. I mean, be the front woman to help others behind the scenes.
Yeah, but it's still you represent the brand. You're not behind the scenes supporting someone else's brand. You represent your own brand.
Right. I represent wendybreakstone.com now.
So I gotta point something out here. Think about this, bot buddies, Audio Summit Marketing School. Now, if that isn't niche focused, I don't know what is. It's not just summit marketing. It's audio summit marketing. That's like you said, break out of the traditional summits. We've done the same thing with bots, right? Help people break out of the traditional marketing automation, which is typically email and funnels, right? So hear that, please, because this woman is making a business very niche focused, and most people are very afraid of getting that specific and niching that specific. So anyway, let's move forward and talk about.
I want to say that I am afraid.
Yeah.
I am scared that like, I'm not serving, I'm not going broad, I'm going deep. But that's okay. It's okay to be afraid.
That's right.
If I
Guess
wasn't
what?
afraid, it wouldn't be any fun, right?
That's life. That's life. There's nothing, if you are never afraid, you really are not going to push yourself or find out what you can do. So but so many people fight that. I was talking to someone just yesterday who I met at an actual local event. It was like, wow, I actually went to a local event, and I walked into this local event. I did a training there, and nobody was wearing a mask, and everybody shook hands. I even hugged a few people. I mean, it was like, am I on a different planet? What just happened? It was really cool, but it was very weird. And in that event, I met someone who we got connected. We got on a Zoom call later, and he was at the crossroads of, I just stopped this gig that I was doing that was great, and they gave me a little severance, and now I'm kind of freaking out, thinking I want to go and find another job, but I'm called to do my own thing. But I'm afraid, and I should go find another job. I'm like, look, dude, the energy you're going to put in finding a job is no different from the energy you're going to put into building your own thing. So why would you not just put that same energy toward building your own thing and trust that you're going to do it, no matter how scary it is?
And one thing I think a lot of people learned through the past, 12 months is that having a quote job is not as secure as they thought it was. And if you can create your own business and build your own business and be kind of the CEO of your own brand, the CEO of yourself, of your own person, then you have the power to always make yourself an income. And I, unfortunately with the phenomenon of what happened with the pandemic, so many people that were always reliant on the job, the job, showing up every day, getting that paycheck, were unpleasantly surprised at what happened. And it's really sad.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
TikTok, become an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's time. If that didn't teach you, I agree 100%. So let's kind of dive into this whole fear idea, because every obstacle we come up against is rooted in fear. Okay, so if it's an obstacle of just, I need more leads, there are tools that you can use to do that, but still implementing those tools, there's an element of fear if it's something you haven't done before. So give me an idea of a business obstacle you've faced, and what was it, and how did you overcome it?
Getting quality leads, I think, is an obstacle, and it's a fear, and it's a roadblock oftentimes, not just for me, but for everybody. Everybody has that fear. If I build it, will they come? Right.
Yeah.
And the answer is no, not unless you do marketing. They're not going to show up. This is not Field of Dreams. No. This is reality, people. My biggest obstacle just in business and also my personal life has been my lifelong anxiety, to tell you the truth. And doing things like this, for instance, used to cause me an enormous amount of anxiety. And I would do anything in my power to try to build a business where I didn't have to do this type of interaction, where people didn't have to see me, where I didn't have to use my voice, which is crazy town because I'm an extrovert and I love talking to people. And oftentimes we get in our head too much and we get blocked by the fact that, what are people going to think of us? And the reality is I finally figured out, like, I can't control that. I'm for some people and I'm not for others. Right. And when I embraced my anxiety and I stopped trying to hide it and being humiliated by it, and basically said, like, well, I've got anxiety. There is a possibility. It's a low possibility, but I might hyperventilate and feel like I need to take a break. That's cool. The sky is not going to fall. More people than I realized would say, Oh my gosh, that's so relatable. But we put these barriers in front of ourselves. And so, really, the biggest obstacle in my own business was me. And when I finally, a couple years ago, said, I'm just going to shout it from the rooftops that I have anxiety and it stopped me in the past and it's not going to anymore. It was like the window opened and the sun hit my face and everything changed. And so that's really what I think has been my biggest fear and my biggest obstacle that I, continually work on. It's not a one and done
Yeah,
fix.
no, none of it ever is. None of this is definitely a process. It's definitely a path. It's definitely a journey. And every single obstacle you face and overcome or go around or dig under or do whatever you do to get past it, guess what? There's going to be another one waiting for you on the other side. And it's going to
Oh,
be different. And you're not even going to know, you don't even know that other obstacle existed until you've overcome that first one. But the one thing I can say is each one gets a little easier and a little easier and a little easier because you train yourself to go, oh, I get it. This is me. This is me getting in my own way. And all I got to do is find a solution around this to get over myself.
yep. And that's why, like, my tagline is do marketing your way. And that's where I came up with this like concept of being a rule breaker, right? And we'll talk a little bit about that, but it's all about like you have to keep going and you have to figure out a way to do it in a way that works for you. And when it works for you, you show up more vibrantly, you show up more like comfortable and more professionally. You don't look like a crazy amateur.
Yeah.
And then people will gravitate more towards you. If you're trying to do stuff that fundamentally like feels yucky, builds resistance, makes you procrastinate, the world is going to pick up on that.
Yeah, totally. Totally. So because I know, especially when you're talking about operations and you're talking about that anxiety about kind of bringing yourself to the forefront and doing things like this and feeling like you're going to have a reaction to that's going to disable you and embarrass you and all these other things that we all have. I'm telling you, when I got on stage the first time, I hired a Tony Robbins coach because I was going to speak my very first speaking engagement to the ManyChat community at Conversations Conference 2018. And it was going to be 1,000 people. And I had never been on stage before. So I'm like, okay, I know my own head is not going to figure out how this is going to work. I'm going to have to find somebody else who knows way more than I do and is going to guide me through this, because I will absolutely pee my pants if I walk out on that stage without any help. And that would be really, really not good. So for many reasons. So, but with what you were talking about, and especially in an operations capacity, which is basically as bot builders, we are in that capacity. We are the ones doing the work. We're doing the systems. We're creating the thing. We're not out actually doing the marketing in the sense of ourselves getting out there. We're much more comfortable behind the scenes, behind our computers, playing with things. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, how did you get yourself to get over that operations, like I have to do it all, and actually step into more of a CEO role? Or did you?
That's a great question. And also, I do want to preface it by saying that I know enough about bots to be dangerous, because I have done quite a bit of studying on bots. And at one point, I was doing a little bit of building and thinking about, building a bot agency. And so I understand, and I love the techie stuff. And you can get kind of like stuck in that rut where you're you're the drummer behind the front man, right? Or you're the keyboardist, right? And you've taken that step back, and it is really hard to step into the CEO role. With operations, I always feel like, and I always tell people, especially when I was doing a lot more like marketing operations specifically, it's like start where you are and move forward. So a lot of people, especially technicians, especially like people that are more kind of wired for, logistics and tech, and maybe the marketing side is a little bit more uncomfortable for them. They want to think about like all the things and all the steps and all the things maybe that they haven't done. And I always say, like, if you're here, then go forward. Don't try to fix everything that you've already passed, because that's just a huge waste of time. And then find those, find something in marketing, find something as the CEO that you are comfortable with and start there. You don't have to do everything this month. You don't have to solve all of your problems, all of the CEO challenges right now, right? You can kind of think about it in terms of maybe like a 90-day plan, or start where you are and make a list and just start ticking off those things. I know that there are certain things that I am like legitimately uncomfortable with. Live video is one of them. Like, you won't see me showing up day in and day out on Facebook Live. You will not see me like without makeup on. Like, there are certain things that make me radically uncomfortable. Don't do those things, right? You can be a CEO, you can be a powerhouse and not have to be like a forceful, CEO. You can find ways that work for you. And that's so important.
Yeah. And so here's the first thing I'd like to ask you about and see if you have an idea on this. When I teach people to try and transition from a technician into a CEO, the first place I start is mindset. It's the way they're looking at the situation. And once you flip that mindset and look at it differently, then the rest of it is easier to start implementing. So for instance, if we have a bot builder who is, and typically the technician mindset or the freelancer mindset is a low ticket mindset. So most of the technicians are going to not be charging $5,000 to build a bot or do a solution for the client. Right. They're going to be looking at, okay, I can build this bot for you for $500, $1,000. And they are confined within just the technology. Whereas when you start looking at the fact that, well, you know that technology, but you know a lot more than you think you do, that you can apply to an overall solution for this particular business, not just, I know this tech, I can play in this tech, and I can only sell this tech.
Well, and that keeps you very, very limited as far as your earning potential, because then it's almost like you're working for the software. Instead of letting the software work for you. When you think about being a solution provider, like you said, versus a technician or a doer, right? That's really where you start to shift the mindset, because then you start to think more strategically. And I do have some thoughts around kind of getting out of that, like that tech mindset a little bit and stepping into the CEO mindset. And one of the ways that I've often described it to what I would call the solopreneur, which is a lot of these technicians and a lot of these bot builders that are listening to this are a solopreneur, right? Mm-hmm. And what happens is you start to grow your business and you maybe add in another chatbot builder, or you add in a VA. What happens is that you need to start to think about your business as a business. Mm-hmm. And you are the CEO of the business. Your business has a one main thing that it does. For example, build the best darn chatbots for your niche target audience. Okay. Yes. Here's what happens. Because you're used to being the CEO, the solopreneur, you're in the middle, or you're like the sun, you're the nucleus. So as you build, everybody starts to revolve around you, instead of revolve around the one main thing that your business is meant to be doing, which is offering the solution. And so it's really key that as you start to build, that you constantly keep your eye on the prize, which is the one main thing, your OMT of your business, of the mission, and what your value is to your clients. Not your unique value, but the value of your business. Because otherwise everybody starts like following the whims of the CEO around, or and so, and that's not healthy for your business. So that's always the mindset shift that I try to get people to understand. First and foremost is they need to start thinking about their business as a business entity and not about their business being them. My business is called wendybreakstone.com, but the mission of my business is to help people create audio summits, right? Create their perfect summit. As my business continues to grow, I don't need to be, and I'm not in the nucleus, right? Our mission stays the same. My role will evolve in the
Yes.
business. And so that's what these technicians need to do.
Yes, absolutely. And I agree 100%, especially in I call it identifying with your business.
Yeah.
If your identity is wrapped up in your business, then you're setting yourself up for failure. And I know that personally. My first business was 2003, Mommy Loves. It was one of these passion projects that I just had to do, was called to do, was grabbed by the throat and would not let go. I just couldn't. I slept it, I dreamt it, I ate it. That idea would not go away. So I'm like, all right, fine, I'll figure out how to do this. And then 2008 hit, and my business was on a hockey stick trajectory. Everything was fantastic. Then 2008 hits, and
It hockey sticked the other
oh
way.
yeah, opposite direction, right?
Yep.
Half down the first year, another half down the second year. It was not fun. But instead of looking at this logically and thinking about what logically I should do to try and either ditch the business and do something else, or fix it, or find a new way to iterate things and change things, I identified with that business. And when I say that, I say that if the business failed, or if something wasn't working in the business, I was failing.
Yep.
And I wasn't working in the business. It was a personal attack, or that it was personally something wrong with me.
Yep.
And when you do that, you've lost your business ability. You are now personally making decisions based on success or failure of every little thing. And we know in business, that's daily. We can daily look at, there's more people watching our whatever, or responding or liking our post. Yay, we're successful. The next day, only 2 people respond. Oh no, I'm a failure, right? That is a daily thing if you identify that way. So when you remove yourself and you are not personally identified with the success or failure of any particular aspect of your business, you will automatically set yourself up for more logical, predictable success.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. I've talked a lot in the past about like managing entrepreneurial anxiety. And one of the big things about entrepreneurial anxiety specifically is this idea that we wrap our own self-worth in the value of our business, the monetary value even of our business, the success or failure. Did we hit 6 figures? Did we hit 7 figures? No, I'm a failure. No, you're not. Your business just didn't succeed this time around. That's cool. Pivot. That's what being an entrepreneur is. You just keep going. You just keep trying different things.
Yeah. But how long did it take you to get to that place? Because it took me, so from 2003 to when I finally realized that in 2017, right? When I finally decided, when Andrew Warner had this webinar that said, hey, how would you like 80% open rates and 60% click-through rates? And I'm like, yeah, I want to be there. And I just knew that if I tried to do this the old way, which is on my own, looking through to, trying to figure it out on my own, I can't pay anybody to help me do this or do this course. I can't do that. That's too expensive. I can't afford that. All those can'ts. Right. Once I stopped doing that and actually embraced the fact that this is scary, it's going to happen, but if I do it the way I've done it before, I'm going to get the same results. So I better do it differently. When I finally, it took me 14 years.
What you said right there, so I better do it differently. That's what I think is like the magical unicorn golden ticket of being an entrepreneur. Is we get in these like strange ruts of we have to do it a certain way. And only when you hooked up and met Andrew did you realize, oh, maybe I don't have to do it the way that I thought I had to do it. I'll try something different. And that's where you start to like really feel like the magic of being an entrepreneur. I will say though, that as far as mindset goes, like I'm still working on mindset every day. I'm working on mindset. I think everybody is. If you think that you've got it figured out, then you definitely need to be working on your mindset, because I can guarantee it as an entrepreneur, something is going to change. You're going to hit the skids and it's going to not be fun for a while. And you're going to have a decision to make. Are you going to pick yourself up and keep going and be a badass? Or are you going to just go get that job?
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And so mindset is while I don't love that word because I think it's overused, it is valid that you always have to be doing that inner work. It's no joke. You always have to be doing the inner work.
Absolutely. Do you feel, and I know you've talked a lot about anxiety, and I get it. My son has a lot of anxiety. My husband has a lot of anxiety. I do as well. I don't just express it. I keep mine in a lot and am in my own head and try and work things out in my own head. So I've changed that now. I talk about things more. I talk about it and bring it out to the forefront and realize, wow, I'm not this weird person who's the only one in the world that has these thoughts by any stretch. I am not that important at all.
You are
to be the only
important.
person, but to be the only person with these thoughts thinking I'm so unique that no one ever thinks this way. No, that's not the case. But is it true with anxiety that really it is rooted in, for me anyway, it feels like it's rooted in a very strong insecurity. And it's like, if I don't know something and I'm anxious about it, that's where my imposter syndrome comes from. It's that if I don't know, or if I'm not as sure, like you said, that when you're in this technician role, if you don't know every single step and every answer to every single step before you do it, you kind of can't move forward. That's what a lot of people who come to my courses, they're like, but I can't go sell my chatbot agencies because I don't know every single thing I can do with chatbots. So what if someone asks me about this obscure thing over here and I don't know the answer? It's like, dude, they're not going to ask you. They have no clue about chatbots. That's why they're talking to you. Right. So you know way more than they do, no matter what. And you can never know everything because guess what? This is constantly changing. So once I allowed myself to embrace that insecurity and embrace that lack of knowledge, and I knew enough, like you said before, I know enough to get myself to make myself dangerous, but I have tools, I have enough resources around me, and I know enough people. Just this morning, I was talking to Stephen Bradeen, beautiful, amazing human being that's been a friend of mine since I've been in chatbots, because I couldn't get the stinking Instagram beta chatbot to fire for one of my clients. Instagram beta at the time of this recording.
Real world problems here.
No, it just wouldn't do it. I've been sending the dang message, the dang keyword for 5 times and nothing's firing. So I'm asking my friend who's already done it, who's a little ahead of me, what's happening, before I go to the general group or go to ManyChat and find out what's going on. So I have enough resources to figure it out. Right. Once I embraced that insecurity, then I no longer became the most important person in the equation and the one stopping the whole thing from happening. Right. Do you feel that that's one of the basis of this kind of anxiety?
Yeah, I mean, entrepreneurial anxiety, I think a lot of it is. And I want to just disclaimer myself by saying I'm not a medical professional. If you have anxiety, go see a doctor, but because you can get help. But entrepreneurial anxiety, there's so many triggers and everybody has a different trigger. Insecurity, which is all about fear, false emotions appearing real, right? We get in our head, we think all these crazy things are going to happen. What if I say too many times on this? What if my, what if I sneeze? What if you're on stage and you have a brain fart, right? All of these things are happening in our head and none of them have actually happened. That's the thing about anxiety, is that none of it has happened. I've never passed out on an interview. I've never not sounded somewhat intelligent on an interview. And yet, like you said, it's still all about the insecurity or the fear of the what if. And so when we can identify those and realize, well, what if that did happen? That's cool. Then you would just say oh, I totally just lost my train of thought. How funny. Okay, well, teleprompter, roll back 3 pages or whatever, right? There's always a real human moment in what we think is going to be our worst moment. It's those crazy, real moments that people go oh my gosh, Mary Catherine just totally lost her train of thought. That's so awesome, because I know that if that happens to me, I'm not alone, because it happened to her and she's like big time. So do you know what I'm saying? Like those are the moments that we fear the most that make us the most human too. It's so interesting.
Yeah. And you just said something that basically kind of prompted how we kind of met, right? Because you say you felt a certain way about me, and I actually felt that way about you. So here's the deal. So, all right, people, listen to this. So basically we've been kind of dancing in each other's worlds for a little while, and we've been on Clubhouse, and I've gone into a room where she was speaking and on stage, and then we became friends on Clubhouse, followed each other on Clubhouse. So now that rose me up because, whenever she was in a room and I went in, then I was in that coveted little spot of followed by the speakers, right? So that felt really good. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm followed by, and that got me more people and all this kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden I saw some post from Wendy saying, I'm having this summit and I'm so excited about interviewing all these incredible people. I'm looking for more people who'd be interested. And I'm just like, I'd really love to do that, but what? So should I raise my hand? Should I do so? And I did. And I just didn't even think about it. I'm like, I'm going to raise my hand. I don't know if I'm right. I think I'm right. I don't know if I'm big enough for her audience and what she's wanting to do, but I'm going to try and do that. Yeah. See, you guys have to see this. All right. You have to hear this. All that stuff's going on in my head. And so I'm like, I'm doing it anyway, because I have come that far in my path that when that comes up in my head, I'm just going to not listen and I'm going to do it anyway. And so I raised my hand and said, hey, Wendy, if you're looking for someone, if you think I can bring value to the audience you're trying to reach, I would really love to talk to you about possibly being a speaker in your summit. And then Wendy gets that message. And what do you think?
So I got the message and I'm like, what is happening? Mary Catherine Johnson wants to be on my little summit. The chatbot mom, the OG of chatbots, wants to be on my summit. Crazy. I couldn't believe it, because you were on what I would call my chicken list of people that I'm too chicken to ask. Like in my hearts of hearts, I want you, but how embarrassing would I feel? How much anxiety would that bring up for me if I asked and you said no? And then I get this DM, like, if you think I would provide value. And I was like, literally, Mary, I ran out of my room and I'm like, to my husband, the chatbot mom wants to be on my summit. And my husband's like, what's a chatbot
What?
mom? Yeah. And so that's where you realize the humanity in being an entrepreneur, truly. My eyes are watering because I'm laughing so hard that you felt the exact same way as me, the exact same way.
So people, a lesson, really, these are human beings, right? We're all human beings. Anytime I feel this way, and I got to tell you, Wendy, the first time I faced this was with my first podcast. And I had this idea, parent entrepreneur power. And it's because I was raising my kids while building business, and people were coming to me asking me, how do you do this? How did you do this? How do you have enough time? How do you organize your day? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, oh, I'll start a podcast. I follow Pat Flynn. He has a free podcast course that basically shows you exactly what to do. So maybe I should start a podcast. And then I thought, oh, what if Pat Flynn was like my first interview? How in the world am I going to ask Pat Flynn to be on a podcast with me? Right? I did, and he did. And it was just the most glorious mindset shift ever. And the way I did that was I went, you know what? He sits down on the pot and takes a shit just like I do.
Bingo.
So he wipes his, the same as I do. Mm-hmm. Why would he be any different? Why? We're human beings, right? Yep. Yeah, the Queen of England probably has a golden throne that she sits on, but still has to do the deed the same way. So We're human beings. Why? why would I worry about that? And so that's how I agonized over this email for weeks and weeks and weeks, and finally just pushed myself to just hit send and just cringe, like, oh my God, he's going to think I'm the most stupid person in the world. And this little, all that stuff, but I did it. And then he said, yes. It's just nuts. So when I came up with this and I thought, maybe I really think this would be a great thing. She's a rule breaker. I am absolutely a freaking rule breaker. I want to talk about breaking the rules and how you can just do what you want to do. Okay, I'll do it. I'll just raise my hand. And look where we are.
Yeah. And I mean, like now I think like we're growing a friendship. You're not just on my summit. I'm not just on your show here. Like we've had other conversations where we've spent an hour and a half just like shooting the breeze, talking about chatbots, talking about kids and travel and stuff. And so it all comes down to who do you truly connect with? And how, back to kind of the beginning is, how can you create those connections doing something that you truly love that really fulfills you? Right? Like what's your purpose? What's your passion? And what is your skills? And if you can create a business for yourself where you can feed those three like desires in yourself and kind of merge those three things together, that's where I think being an entrepreneur is like genius, because we were like connected on Facebook for a really long time.
Yeah.
But until, like you said, until we got to Clubhouse and actually were able to hear each other more and be on stages together and be in the audience together, did we realize that we have more in common than apart.
Completely.
And that's the magic.
Even today, I went into Clubhouse this morning, and the first thing I do is I swipe left, look at my list of people, and see who's on now and where they are. And the person I look for is you. And I look for where is she? What room is she in? And then if you're in a room, I go. I just did this morning. You were in a room with, I think it was Clubhouse Analytics or something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And you were in the room and I'm like, okay, I'm going. And I pop right into that room and I'm listening for a while. And somebody was talking about how to take the people in their Clubhouse and bring them into a CRM. And, I was just listening to what was happening. And if I felt like I could contribute anything, or if I had a specific question, I would raise my hand and ask a question. But I look for people that I follow and I connect with to see where are they, what is important to them, what are they contributing to right now, and can I gain anything or provide anything? And it makes life so sweet to be able to have those kinds of connections all over the world, and to be able to have these conversations and really help each other change the world. Talk about your Rule Breaker Summit. So, because I really have to, again, we're breaking rules. This is not about just following what everyone else does. This is about breaking the rules. So what's happening with this summit?
Yeah, talking about Clubhouse and then the summit is kind of a really good segue, because one of the things that I learned about, just as being an entrepreneur, like I said, is that video is a cause for a lot of anxiety for me. And the other thing that causes me like a ton of anxiety is creating slide presentations. I open up like Google Slides or Keynote or PowerPoint back in the day, and it's like my brain has somehow like gotten sucked out of my head. Like there's nothing. It's a blank slate. And so I always felt like, wow, a summit would be really cool, but I've been to some summits and they felt just kind of like salesy webinars disguised as like learning opportunities. And oh yeah, that you have to make a slide presentation. And it's just a bunch of like stuff that I didn't love. But the one thing about the summit is it brings a lot of speakers, a lot of potential power partners, like you and me together. And it opens up an opportunity for not only lead generation for you to your potential prospects, but the other side of it, which is the relationship that you're building with the people on the summit. And so I knew that if I could figure out a way to do a summit that worked for me, that was outside the norm, which is the video slide presentation, what I call being chained to your computer screen till your eyes bleed type of summit, I could potentially grow my audience and also create more power partners. And then I started thinking, well, why don't I just do an audio summit? Why don't I create the summit that I want to do? And that's when the Rule Breakers Marketing and Sales Summit was born. And for a while, I didn't know the name of it. I just knew that I wanted to do an audio only summit and a training interview style summit where I would guide people through the conversation. It's not loosey goosey, but that nobody would have to create a slide presentation. Nobody would have to show up for like co-working or networking events, all that fun stuff that just is a time suck. Yeah. I wanted to do something my way by my rules. And so as I started to develop this concept around this summit that I was going to create, I thought, why don't I just call it the Rule Breaker Summit? Because that's really what it is. And through that, I created this summit. I thought it was going to be 12 speakers over 3 days. It's 20 speakers plus me over 3 days. So it's amazing. And I got some, I got the people like the Mary Catherine Johnson showing up. And a lot of the reason they showed up is because they were like, well, is it an interview or do I have to create a slide presentation? Oh, it's interview style. Boom, I'm in. Sign me up. And I was like, okay, cool. And so I realized that it appealed to me. And generally what appeals to you will appeal to your audience and will appeal to the people that you also want to be partnering with. So that was an interesting realization that I had. I mean, I think I already knew it, but then I realized even more those people that truly want something different will want to come to my summit, will want to learn more about Audio Summit Marketing School. So that's how it came to be. But fundamentally, it came out of this idea that I didn't want to do something because people told me I had to do it a specific way in order to be successful. I didn't want to follow the Maserati marketers. I believed that if I was going to try to do something that gave me resistance causes procrastination. Procrastination makes you feel bad about yourself. So how could I do it in a way that was going to light me up so much that I couldn't stop wanting to do it?
Yeah. Wow. This is going to be part of a series of podcast interviews that I'm doing called Changes in Chatbots. Mm-hmm. And it fits perfectly into that because look at all the tools you had to use to change, to pivot, to iterate, to adjust, to basically change the way you were going to not just perceive this, because that's where it had to start. You had to start with the perception of, I'm not just going to do what everyone else does. Right. I'm going to do what I enjoy, what feels comfortable to me. And I know there are other people out there because you've gained enough knowledge and confidence and all those things to know that there are other people out there like you who also would feel comfortable in this environment. So why would you not? And that's the ultimate purpose and projection of change. Projection meaning it's going to project us into a different direction. And it's a beautiful thing to think of it rather than change or iteration or anything like that, to think of it as breaking the rules.
Yep.
Because that's exactly what you're doing. Not breaking the rules like against the law, but breaking the rules of what everyone thinks is the way you do things.
Yeah, I have a great analogy that I love to use. So there are must-dos that you have to do. You must do marketing. You must attract leads. It's the way that you do it is where you get to break the rules. And I liken it to the sign at the grocery store when you walk in that says no shoes, no shirt, no service. Okay. You have to wear a shirt and you have to wear shoes, but they don't tell you what kind of shoes you have to wear. And that's the difference is if you have to do marketing, if you want to do a summit, if you have to do a webinar, how can you do it that fits your feet? Right? Do you want to wear flip-flops to the grocery store or are you wearing your date night heels to the grocery store? Are you going to go clumping in your clogs that you just got off work from because you work at the hospital? Or are you wearing your cowboy boots because you rode horses all day? That's the part that's up for wild interpretation. And I can't recommend enough that everybody interpret that the way they want to. Wear the shoes that you want to wear. Do it your way.
Do it, but do it your way. Yes.
Exactly. Do marketing your way.
Cue Frank Sinatra. Yeah.
Boom.
So-
Boom.
All right. So we, as you can tell, wonderful bot buddies out there, we could talk forever, Wendy and I. We have had to stop ourselves in the past and actually move on with life and business. But we are going to try and stop ourselves now by bringing to the conclusion of this, like I do everything else. And I can't wait to ask this lovely woman this question. Way in the future, we're going to live to at least 130, all of us, healthily and with our eyesight and our hearing would be really good. And teeth, that too. When you get to the end of your life, someone is going to look back at this incredible life you've lived and write your biography. What would the title of that book be?
Well, first of all, let me start by saying that my grandmother is 104 and she has all of her teeth and she has all of her faculties and she has her vision. So the likelihood that I'm going to have a nice, long, healthy life and have time to write the bio is likely.
Yes.
And I have such a great role model in my grandmother. So, I thought about this question, and really the title of my book would be called, the title of my biography would be, She Broke the Rules and Got Away with It. And the foreword would be written by Johnny Carson. Who I named my son after, by the way.
Okay. We know Johnny Carson. Most people, what's his name? Kimmel now?
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
Conan.
Late night. Yeah, I'm sure everybody understands, but we were alive when he was actually on TV. So I was anyway. Wow. Okay. Johnny Carson. Yes. Amazing. What would be the quote that he would say you lived your life by? Okay, I already know it's going to be good.
It's a quote that my husband says that I say a lot, and only when I started to think about this did it strike me, but I have a really bad habit of when I try something and I don't like it, I offer it to my husband. So I say, I don't like this. Do you want it? That's the quote.
It's like, smell this. I don't know if it's good.
Yeah, try this. I think it's bad. So yeah, I don't like this. Do you want it? And so that's the quote.
Oh, what a great way to live your life.
Yep. I'm happy to share as long as I don't like it.
But if it's your favorite, don't even think about touching it.
Unless you're my son.
I see.
I'm forced to share with him.
He knows ways. He knows ways.
Mother in me. Yes.
See, that's it. Yeah. I can imagine your poor husband. He knows, okay, she likes that. I'm not even going to go near it. Exactly. But if she doesn't like it, hopefully he has opposite tastes from you. So, oh my gosh, that is so amazing. Wendy, thank you so much for sharing this time with me. I really, I just enjoy speaking with you. I can't wait to see what's coming. I know.
My face hurts, Mary.
I had to calm my face down from smiling so much. Yes. So I can't wait to see what's coming. I can't wait for people to come to the summit. If this is airing after June 9th, 2021, then you've missed the summit. I'm sure there might be replays that you can check out and possibly get a VIP pass for, because I'm telling you, these people that she has collected are dropping some amazing stuff. So if it's after June 9th, 2021, I would still go to Rule Breaker Summit and try and find out information about it. In the meantime, the link will be in the description of this post over at messengerfunnels.com under My Chatbot Life. But beyond that, this is not the first and this is not the last summit, I should say, that Wendy's going to do and her students will do. So you need to pay attention and follow on Clubhouse, follow on Facebook, follow on all the places, and get to know this incredible lady, because it's been a blast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This has been such a blast. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the My Chatbot Life podcast. To watch this video chat, visit mychatbotlife.com and get all the rocket boosters you need for your own chatbot success.